Yo, what is up? Just need to test this all works. Give me a sec. Sorry I'm a bit late. I was just having dinner. Let me turn the music off for a minute. Cool. Levels all good. Let's go. Thanks to everyone who is here. Hope you learned something from this stream. And yeah, let's get on with it. So yeah, it's Friday tomorrow. So weekly VJ Loop's got to come out. So I'm basically going to be revisiting an old design that I did back in 2021. There were some comments on the Insta. People were asking for tutorials, and I never got around to doing it, and I feel kind of bad about it. So I thought I'd redo it because I want to see these ones in 4K. Because now I'm rendering stuff at 60 frames per second and in 4K. So I really like the design, so I want to see it in like all that high res glory. Do you know what I mean? So I thought I'd revisit one of them, and obviously people seemed to like it before, and people wanted to know how it was done, so I thought I'd kill two birds with one stone there. So this is the design we're going to do. Really cool pattern. So you've got this sort of mirrored sort of spiraling effect going through. It looks a lot more complex than it is, really. Kind of like I feel like a lot of the stuff I do, it looks a lot more complicated than it is. Doesn't actually take too long to make. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's jump straight into it. Mika, my guy. You're killing it on YouTube at the moment, man. Honestly, I don't know how you're cranking out so many videos. Like, it's for me, it's not the recording, it's the editing. It takes so long. I wanna be putting out videos every week, but I've got a full-time job. Like, I'm working like 7:45 till 6 o'clock every day, and then I've got the client work on the side, and I'm trying to keep making like the weekly VJ loops and then managing the website. It just gets a bit overwhelming sometimes. And yeah, I do feel like I'm neglecting the YouTube a bit, but yeah. It just does take a lot of time, but I do enjoy doing it. It's just, yeah, it's mostly the editing just takes a long time. I think maybe I'm going to just record a bunch of like live streams, and then I'll have sort of videos to work with, and then just trim them down. Problem with the live stream is that I ramble a lot more. When I do like a planned tutorial, I've kind of got it all planned out, and it makes the editing a lot quicker. I noticed I thought I'd be quicker by doing live streams and then editing them, and it ends up just taking so much longer because I'm rambling, just like I am right now. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. Kirby, you asked for the tutorial. Wicked. It just makes me happy that like there's people still looking at my work from a year ago. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's quite easy just to like, I guess, sort of lose track of things, I guess, like with people that you follow, because especially with the way like social media is set up now, like you don't, like I've noticed as my followers have been going up on Instagram, but obviously because the algorithm changes, and obviously it's a business that like Facebook is a business at the end of the day. But like what I guess what I'm trying to say is like I noticed my followers are going up, but my reach is like just staying the same. Like I get like 50 to 100 story views every time I post, and like yeah, like the views on my Insta is just it's lower than when I had like 300 followers. So yeah, I don't mean to like demotivate anyone who's trying to grow their Insta, but Facebook are doing all they can to put eyeballs towards advertisers, so you can't really rely on that. But I think the goal is just to really build an audience across all the platforms, and yeah. But I guess what I was saying is it pumps me that people are still obviously looking at my work, which is really cool. And yeah, that's all we want at the end of the day, isn't it? But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna get on with it. So we've got an empty scene. First thing I'm going to do, of course, is delete the default cube and hit Shift A, add a mesh, and we'll add a cylinder. We're going to leave the vertices as it is, leave it at 32. And obviously we're making a tunnel, so we're going to delete those faces. So go to face select in edit mode, delete the face here, and delete the face here. And for anyone who wonders why I repeat and over explain everything, is because obviously I'm going to cut these down into tutorials, and obviously everyone dips in and out of tutorials at different points in their journey into Blender, so I want everyone who watches to sort of be able to follow along. So I know it involves like the regulars having to listen to the same shit over again, but I think that's you kind of got to do that, because otherwise new people are going to like watch a tutorial and they're not going to be able to follow along. So I like to always keep it beginner friendly. So that's a tip I would give to anyone out there who's setting up a YouTube channel, is just to make everything obvious to the viewer. So yeah, in edit modes, we're going to hit A on the keyboard. I'm going to hit RX90 so we can rotate it. So it's going down the y-axis. So we'll hit SY8. And that's going to be our tunnel there. And I'm going to use, if you notice in the design, you may not be able to notice it, but it's quite blocky. The reflections are quite blocky. It's kind of sort of looks a bit glitchy in a way, but not. And the way I did that is by using a modifier that not many people use it, but not. There's a specific function in this modifier that I think it gets forgotten about, but it can give you some interesting results. We're going to use the Remesh Modifier. Now, what this modifier is usually for is well, it's in the name. It's you remesh your objects. So, say you've got bad topology, so a lot of the time when you import like vector graphics, like SVG files or text into Blender, the topology will be really bad. So you can use the remesh to basically calculates a new way of forming the topology around the object. But it's also got this really cool block function, which basically turns everything into blocks, kind of like Minecraft. You know what I mean? So we're going to pump that up to 8, and now you can see it's sort of like blockified our tunnel, sort of made it look like a Lego piece. So yeah. But what you'll notice is it's brought the faces back, so we need to delete those again. And the only way to do that is to actually apply the modifier. So make sure you're happy with your settings here. If you're just going to follow along with me, just do what I do. I guarantee you it's going to look good with this. So just leave it at 8 and just leave the scale at 0.9. And we're going to hit Control A on the remesh. And now when we go into edit mode, you see it's obviously added all of this new topology around the object. So next step, we're going to delete those faces again. So go into edit modes, we're going to hit 1 on the number pad keyboard, and we're going to just select all of these. Make sure you're on face select still. and then, sorry, hit 1 again on the keyboard, and then we're going to hit Shift 1, not Shift 1, sorry, Control 1, which will flip it round to the back. So 1's the front, I think, and then Control 1 will flip it round to the back. And we'll do that again, but we'll hold Shift, and we're going to just delete all those faces again. So X, delete faces, and now we got our blocky tunnel. And the regulars who watch my tutorials know what's up now. We're just going to basically instance these tunnels down the y-axis. I had a comment on my video today saying to use the array modifier rather than instancing. You can do that, it's just up to preference really. I have my own preference. I prefer to instance, but you can use the array modifier as well. It's a quicker way of doing it if you want to do it that way. So you just change the factor on the X to 0, and you change the factor on the Y to 1, and then you can pump it up like that. You can do it like that. I prefer to instance because I like to have, just deleting that array modifier, I like to have everything organized into collections, so I can drag and drop objects into the instances so that they automatically populate. Now you can kind of do that with array modifiers as well. You can just link the modifiers or copy modifiers, but it's just how you prefer to work. That's just how I prefer to work, but yeah, it's up to you really. But one thing I would say that I think instances benefits the array modifier more is that you can't use array modifiers on lights. See, there's no option to apply modifiers on lights. So if you had a long tunnel and you wanted to populate lights across the tunnel, instancing, you're gonna have no trouble doing that. Yeah, yeah, you know what I'm saying, right? So yeah, let's just create that instance. So click on the tunnel, hit M, add a new collection, and we'll call that tunnel. And I'm going to call this thing tunnel as well. And then I'm going to hit Shift A, add a collection instance, tunnel, and we'll hit GY16. Shift D, Y16, just to duplicate that, and then hit Shift R, Shift R. Just keep hitting Shift R so you get loads of them. And just populate all the way down there up until your camera can't see anymore. And we're just gonna, I like to keep things organized, so I'm gonna put these into their own collection. So new collection, we'll call that instance. And then we can just hide these. Just keep everything neat. All right, next step, we're gonna click on the camera, we're gonna hit Alt G to reset the location, Alt R to reset the rotation, and then we'll hit RX90, so we can face it down the y-axis, and then we're gonna hit GY -8, GY -8, so that we can, as you can see, the camera starts precisely where the tunnel starts. See the origin point there? That's where the camera is, and yeah. Cool. Now we're just going to quickly key in an animation for this camera. So I'm going to drag my timeline up a bit, and I'm going to go to the scene settings here, change the frame rate to 30 frames per second, just because the content I make is for like clubs and like festival screens and for VJs. Higher frame rate the better really for that kind of stuff. Yeah, because basically they want to be able to control the speed of them. If you render at a low frame rate, there's not really much they can do in terms of slowing it down, because it's just going to get choppy. So yeah, if your computer can handle it, 60 frames per second is good. 120 frames per second if you really want to be like extra, but I think 60 frames per second is probably the best for that kind of stuff. The only thing with like a lot of social media platforms, you can't upload at 60 frames per second, so you end up having to reduce the frame rate if you got to upload to like Instagram or something like that. Insta, I think, caps at 30 frames per second. I think TikTok's the only one that you can upload at 60. But yeah. So with that, let's animate that camera. So I'm going to change, I want it to be a 10-second loop, so that's going to be 300. And I'm going to animate this camera. So I'm going to go to the first frame, add a keyframe on your camera, and that camera is set to -8 on the y-axis where the tunnel starts. We're going to go to 301, and I'm going to change this to, I'm going to type in 8, but I want it to be double the length, so I'm going to do 8 plus 16. If your arithmetic is good, you'll know that's 24, but mine's terrible. So yeah, and then just add a keyframe and hit A, T, and linear. And you can see that camera now, it ends at the end point of the second tunnel, right? So it's just going to allow the camera to pass a little bit faster than it would have if it was only going to the first one. It would have looked really slow if we did it like that. So yeah. And now, I can't remember if I changed the interpolation, but you want to have your mouse hovered in the timeline, and we just want to set the interpolation to linear. So hit A, T, change that to linear. And what that does is it prevents the camera from accelerating and decelerating as it comes to the end. So you can have a constant motion going through the tunnel. So you can see where we're getting at now. Next step, I'll show you what we want to do. We want to create that spiral effect you're seeing here. How do we do that? I don't think I've seen people use this technique before, so you might learn something new with this. So what you want to do is we're going to be using a modifier called the simple deform modifier, and what that does, I'll show you what it does on this. So we're going to add it onto the tunnel. The simple deform modifier basically allows you to twist an object like so. It has other sort of, I guess, mathematical calculations of the way it twists. I don't know what you'd call these categories, but yeah, it has different sort of ways it works, but the one we want is, and you can get some really cool effects with this, by the way, and you can animate all of this as well, so you can get some really cool effects doing this, but the one we want is twist, just so we can get that sort of spirally corkscrew effect. So that's what that does. But what you don't know, what you might not know about it, is it twists from the origin point of the object. So for example, if I take this tunnel and I go into edit mode and I hit G and X, if I start to move that, it's going to bring it, it's going to twist from that orange dot there. It's going to basically create a sort of corkscrew effect. And that's what we're going to do. But we're not going to do it on this, so I'm just going to delete that. We're going to do it on a new object. So we're going to hit Shift A, add a mesh, and we'll add a cylinder. And we want to give this quite high resolution, so there's no noticeable like faces on the object. We want it to look quite smooth. So I'm going to go to the vertices and I'm going to give it 128 vertices. So it's nice and smooth, and we also need to delete the faces as well. So I'm just going to move this over here for now. I'm just going to move it over there for now. So I'm going to go into edit mode and just delete that face again. X delete, hit Alt G just to reset it into the center. I'm going to hit RX90, SY8, and we're going to apply all transforms. So Control A, apply all transforms, go back into edit modes, and we're going to hit A, so we select everything, and we're going to hit S, Shift Y, so that you lock in the y-axis. So now when we scale it, it's only going to scale on the x and the z-axis. So it's going to bring it in without affecting the endpoints of the thing that we're scaling, of the cylinder. So yeah, S, Shift Y, bring that in. Just make it quite small. and then staying in edit mode, because remember we want to keep that origin point in the center. We're going to hit GX and just bring it around here. Now all you got to do is go to your modifier, come out of edit mode, sorry, go to your modifier, and we're going to add that simple deform, and it's going to work like magic. Just pop that there, change the axis to Y, and you can see it's not having any effects. What you may have noticed is that I gave resolution to the outside, to the surface of the object, but I haven't given any cuts along the length. So I need to just bring this out again, and I'm going to go into top view, and I'm going to go into edit mode again. Just going to delete this modifier for now, and I'm going to go to loop cut here, and we're going to add, we'll say 128 again, and then we'll add 128 cuts, and then we're just going to click in the center here, and now it's going to give you 28. It's going to give you 128 cuts down the length of the cylinder now. So come out of edit mode. Actually, just make sure if you select that, make sure you come back to box select, because it's easy to forget that you have that tool on when you go back into edit mode, and you might end up cutting some objects that you're editing by accident. So just remember to bring that back so you don't fuck anything up by accident. Yeah. So come out of edit mode and hit Alt G, and now let's go into our camera mode, go into our camera by hitting 0, and we're going to go to the modifier again, and we're going to add that again. So where was it? Simple deform, and you want it down the y-axis. And now when you pump this up, you're going to see it corkscrewing round. And now when we hit play, you can see what I mean. And now all you got to do is drag that cylinder into the tunnel instance, and it's going to populate the whole thing. And that's how you create spirals. Now I'll just shade it smooth as well. So you can right click it, shade smooth, or go to object and shade smooth. I think it's here. One thing noting as well, I know I deleted the modifier before. You can just hide it by doing that. I don't know why I didn't do that, but yeah. Cool. So I just want to widen up that focal length a bit as well. So I'm going to bring this down probably around here, 13. And if you want to adjust the size of this spiral, I'm going to change that name to spiral. And if you want to adjust the size of the spiral, again, you need to go into edit mode to do that, and do the S shift Y thing if you want to play around with the thickness of it. Because if you don't do it in edit modes, you're going to do that, and you don't want to do that because it's not going to join. So yeah, anytime I'm not going to repeat myself. I think I made that clear. Yeah. Right. Just check in the comments. I'll tell you what, you might call me a pansy, but I'm addicted to this pink gin. It's so good, man, especially when it's a nice day. Trouble is, I drink it way too quick, so things might get a bit sloppy. Right, I think we can start shading it now. So I always like to save my work before I go into before I start shading. I just think it's a good checkpoint to save. You should save often though, really, because Blender can just crash randomly. So yeah. I've recently like reorganized all my files, and you know when you think you're gonna make things like more organized and you just end up making it worse. And I don't know what is like where now. And like all of my I wish I didn't do it, because all of you know like when you're working with video, obviously it all references where your files are. Things like OBS as well, it like references where your files are. So now everything's like, I have to set everything up again. Yeah, I don't know. It needed to be reorganized, but I don't know. I kind of messed it up. Yeah. Right. Basically, I wanted to have everything running from like cloud storage, like Google Drive. I was doing everything from Dropbox before, but it was kind of annoying me because I don't know. I ended up moving loads of stuff from Dropbox to Google Drive. I think my mindset was I wanted to have everything on Dropbox that was like for delivering materials. Like for example, on my website, when you download the loops that I put up on there, it's all linked to Dropbox. So I wanted to just have everything clean on Dropbox that is just specifically for like material delivery or for like client, like when I'm sending stuff to clients, and then have sort of everything on Google Drive for like work, so I can like work on my laptop whenever, and I can work on the computer whenever. But yeah, I ended up just messing a lot of stuff up, and it's just become such a headache. But hey ho. Cool. So we got that saved. Let's go into rendered mode now. So, in case you missed that, I hit Z and then 8 to go into rendered mode. And first thing I'd do is go to the world settings. You're not going to see this if you... this is basically an add-on I bought, so don't worry about that. We're going to drop that down to black. And let's take that light. We're just going to use the light that it provides us, and we're going to hit Alt-G just to bring it into the center. And what I'm going to do is parent the light to the camera so that the light follows the path. So click on your light, click on your camera while holding Control, and then hit Control P, Object Keep Transform, and there you go. Now your light is following down the path, and we're just gonna, if you can't find your light, it's gonna be under this menu here. It's created like a sub folder that you need to expand. So we're just gonna duplicate that light. So hit Shift D, and now this second light is still gonna be parented to the camera, which is what we want. And with your first frame at 1, we're gonna change the light to 32 on the y-axis in your transform settings, just so it's like right at the end of the tunnel. And next step, so now we've got 2 lights, and we're going to play around with these a bit later. So let's just go to our render settings here. We're going to be using Eevee. We all love Eevee because it's quick. And we're going to check bloom. I like to drop the intensity a bit. I find the Eevee bloom a bit strong. And we're going to add the screen space reflections. So what that's going to do is it's going to... I'm sure you guys know what it does. And we're going to add motion blur as well. So, yeah. So that's still looking pretty bad. So we need to start shading the tunnel. So we're going to click on this tunnel here. I'm going to add a new material, so you can go over here add a new material. If you can't see this window, all you need to do is just go to the top right corner and just drag it in. Go to shader editor, and that's going to allow you to mess around with the material properties in a node based setting. So I've already got that here. Sorry, it's all a bit different because I've got my camera up here now. So yeah, let's we got the principal BSDF shader. So we're going to bring this down on the color, just make it quite dark, and we're going to drop the roughness all the way down, and you're going to see these lights here are they're sort of, you can see them reflecting on the surface of the tunnel, and that's basically the magic of screen space reflections. Obviously when you turn that off, it's giving you a lot more detail when you drop the roughness down. So yeah. So if you see on my render, the lights are like sort of twisting as they go down, and honestly it's really easy to do that. All you got to do is just add that simple deform that we added on the spiral. We're just going to add it to the tunnel again. So go to your modifier settings and go to simple deform, wherever that is. Yep. And then go down the y-axis, and we're going to bring this in the negatives. I want it to go in the opposite direction of the spiral. I mean, you can do what you can have it going with if you want. I quite like it going the other way. So, and yeah, and that's actually, it's created movement on the lighting, which I find really cool. Cool. So next step, let's pump that metallic all the way up, and let's now add a bit of color to it. So on the base color of your tunnel, we're going to bring this to, let's say, maybe like a deep green. I think that looks pretty good. And if you click on your first light, this is the one that's closest to us. You can always readjust that on the Y if you want. You can even animate this to go through. You could instance it if you want. If you want extra brownie points, you could instance this, and you could have an infinite sort of path of lights that come through. Yeah, that could look cool. I didn't do that for this one, but just shooting some ideas for you guys. That's why I like instancing, because yeah, you just drag a few things in the instance and you can just sort of play around. Just yeah. So yeah, I say yeah a lot, don't I? So that's that animation there. Let's now change the spiral. Let's add some material to the spiral. So click on your spiral, we'll add a new material. Again, we're gonna pump that metallic up, and let's just leave the roughness where it is. Let's change the color to sort of, I think I went for purple, didn't I? Maybe it was blue. I don't know. Obviously, you play around with different color palettes. It's down to you guys to experiment. I always encourage you to just sort of take the techniques you learn from the tutorial and sort of use them to create new things with it. Sort of build and adapt from the knowledge that you get from what you learn. That's the only way you can really create new art. And really nothing is new art. Everyone is inspired by someone. So yeah, don't feel like you're copying my work. I really don't care. You can copy it to the T and say it's yours. I really don't care. Yeah, do what you want. That's what I'm saying. But it's good. I think it's good to at least experiment. Just play around with it. Like, you can just copy it, but more brownie points if you experiment. So yeah. So we have that other light that's sort of all the way at the end. So we're going to actually make this a different color. So go to light 0.001, the duplicate light. We're going to change the color to, we'll make it like a blue, I think, like a light blue. Just trying to think of how I did it before. Yeah, so this is like purple, blue, and green. So we'll try keep it true to that. One more thing I will say, with these kind of renders, I like it to really pop. So what you'll notice with this, it's not really popping, and the way I find is like a one button trick to make your renders pop is just to change the color management settings. So if you go to render properties, go down to color management, go to look, and change that to very high contrast, and it will make things just pop a lot more. You can also play around with the exposure settings and the gamma settings, but I'm going to leave them where they are for now. And now I think it's just a case of getting these reflections just to come through a bit more. So maybe we'll bring that up and just play around with these colors, I think, until we get something that we like. I think maybe bring the light in a bit as well. So I think it's a bit too far out. You can also change the radius and get some cool effects here just by pumping up the light radius. And that's something you can animate as well. Get some cool effects. I did it with this one. Yeah, I was just see that it sort of flowers out. That's just me animating the radius of the light. So yeah, fuck it. Let's do that. We're gonna animate that. So we're gonna put that on 0.1. Add a keyframe on the first frame. Go to 301 and add the same keyframe. We're going to go to frame 151, which is the center. I'm just going to pump that up to about here. I think 1.15 is probably good. And yeah. Now by default, Blender has the interpolation set to Bezier. If you haven't messed around with that, then you don't need to change this. But if not, just in case, hit A, T, and change that to Bezier. This just makes sure that as the animation plays through, it just makes sure that these are gonna sort of ease in and out rather than sort of be janky. It's hard to explain without showing you, but yeah. That's pretty much all it is, man, and it's just a case of experimenting with the settings a bit more. So I'm going to change that light again. I'm going to bring I'm going to change the backlight, the one that's right at the end. I'm just going to bring that radius up a bit so you can sort of see it cutting through a bit more. Oh, that's not it, because you can see on my one, it was all mirrored, and honestly it's really easy. All you need to do is add a mirror modifier to the spiral. So we're just gonna click on our spiral here, go to modify properties, add a modifier, add a mirror modifier, and yeah, just put that on all of them, and there you go. That's how you get that mirror effect. You can check bisect as well if you want them to sort of cut into each other. Gives you this sort of cool creation effect in the spiral. Sort of looks like an eye as well that you sort of pass through. But yeah, we're not going to have that. I don't remember how I made that pattern actually. Not sure. It's a different pattern, isn't it? Can't actually remember how I did that. Let's find out, shall we? Luckily, I got everything backed up, so let's have a look. X, Y, and Z. I thought that's what I did. I'm sure that's exactly what it's like on this. Y and Z did the same thing. Methinks that might be a bug. Why is that not? If someone knows, drop it in here, because that's. Why would that mirror the same thing? Ah. Okay. All you got to do, that's not a bug, that's just me being dumb. Okay, so what you got to do, if you want to get that pattern, you need to go back into edit mode on your spiral, and you want to hit G and Z and just bring that down a bit, right? Because there's not anything to mirror. You got to remember, it's all working from that origin point, right? And where it was before, there's no gap between, there's no gap on the Z axis, so it's not really doing what we want. So if we bring that down just a touch, and there you go. How nice, that's nice, isn't it? Ooh, me gusta. I like that. That's cool. Right, I'm going to repeat that just for the tutorial sake, so sorry guys, I'm going to hear that again. Right. So, if you want to get if you want to get a really cool pattern for this, if you want to get a really cool pattern on this spiral, you'll notice that the mirror modifier isn't really working on the Z-axis how we'd like it to. So all you got to do to fix that is just go into edit mode, hit A, and then hit G and then Z, and you're going to see we're starting to see that take effect now. So just bring it down a touch, not too much, just a little bit, and then yeah, and now add all of your axes, and now we can see we've got this really cool pattern here. Very psychedelic. One more thing as well you can do if you want symmetry across it, because obviously the spiral tunnel, it's not symmetrical, so you could, with this simple deform, just add the mirror modifier below it, and it's gonna create some really cool geometry, I reckon. Yeah, look at that. Same thing here, look. That gives you some really nice patterns. That's nice, man. That's going to be next week's. Cool. I'm going to... Sorry, I'm just thinking. You know when you just stumble across different designs, it just makes you want to restart the tutorial and do a different one. But Oh well. I it's like I had it in mind that I was gonna do. I don't know. I had it in mind I wasn't gonna do this, and now I want to end with this, but I don't know. Getting indecisive. That's my problem. The only problem is when I brought that down, getting a bit of intersection here. So I'm just gonna hit GZ, let's bring it in a little bit more. And there we go. Right, I'm gonna do a bit more shading. So just play around with these a bit more till I get it to look how I want it. I think I'm gonna go with a different color palette. I'm gonna bring this in a little bit as well, I think. Bring that here. I like this being purple, so that will... I think it's this one. So I'm just experimenting with the color palette. I don't want the radius that thick actually on the light, so I'm going to change that. Just bring that down a bit to around here. Just reset those keyframes. And I think that light at the end could be... Don't know, man. Not sure. You can even widen the camera even further if you want. But no, it's quite good there. Even a close focal length's pretty cool. That's quite cool. The choices, man. Don't know what to do. Yeah, I don't know. I keep changing my mind. That's cool. I think I'll just leave it like that. Yeah, we'll leave it there. Let's render it out and see what it looks like. So, oh man, everything's messed up. Look at all these. I don't even know how to delete these. Normally you just hit the minus button on there, but because you can't click on them, I genuinely don't know what to do other than like reinstall Blender, but I can't be bothered to do that. To be fair, I should really update it. I think we're on, what are we on now? Is it 3.2 now? I don't know. I'm still on 3. I rarely update unless it's like a major update. I just sort of get used to, I don't know, sometimes when you update it and then something stops working or things get moved around, it just disrupts my workflow. Do you know what I mean? I'm very much a if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of guy. But it is good that they keep updating Blender with new stuff. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but yeah, I just like once I've got something stable and I know how to use it, I like to keep it that way. That's just me. It's like, you know, Adobe when they update shit and then they remove shit. it just does my head in. But yeah. Anyway, rambling again. I'm going to make a few variations because I got the fast render times, so it's all good. Oh, this is a PNG. Don't want to do that. Hold up. Only because I didn't put it in a folder, so it's just going to make it all messy. Just 1 minute. Right, I'm just going to explain this bit for when I cut it to a tutorial. So once you've got your animation, all you got to do now is render out the animation. So if you go over here to output properties, just make sure everything's set up how you want it. This output file is obviously where your render's going to go. File format, generally you should, best practice is to actually render an image sequence. 2 reasons. Number one, it will be a bit faster in the sense that you'll get the render quicker because your computer's not encoding at the same time. But then it does add time as well because you've got to then, if you want to actually watch the video, you have to throw it into like an editor or an encoder and then put it all together. So it is a bit longer with when you render in image sequences, but the main reason people do it is because if the render crashes for whatever reason, you can basically pick up from where you left off. So say you got to frame 140 and it crashed. With an image sequence, you can just pick up from where you left off. If you render it to a video, if it crashes, that file is going to be corrupt and you're going to have to start from square one. So it's not a big deal if you're doing like 1080p, like 30 frames per second. Not really a big deal if the scene isn't too complex, but if you're, say you like using cycles, or you're rendering at like 4K or at 60 frames per second, you're not going to want to start again if it crashes because it's going to take forever. So that's the best practice, is to do image sequence, but I want to see it now. So yeah, going to change the thing to FFmpeg video, container MP4, output quality perceptually lossless, video codec, just leave that at H.264, and then all you got to do is go to render and render animation and you're done. So yeah, let's render that out. You know it. It's only the trial version. All of my music stuff's on my laptop. I've got like a MacBook Pro. I use Logic when I write music. I've been using that since I was like probably like 17, so I know it in and out. I did actually start on FL Studio. That's one of the first DAWs that I used. But I haven't really used it properly, like composing or producing since I was like 15, 16. So yeah, I only, because I've got the PC now, I need something to do music on, but I haven't actually bought it yet. I'm going to get Ableton once I've got the money, because I want to do like live stuff. I want to do like live looping and shit like that. I want to mix it with the visuals I make as well, because you can do that with Ableton. You can get this thing called Max for Live, I think. And yeah, it all sort of integrates with Ableton, so you can have it like trigger like video settings, sort of like how Resloom works, but I think it's a bit more in depth. It's less. Resloom is more like DJing for visuals. I think Max is more like sort of like, I think it's more like kind of like programming it all. So like you map things to MIDI, like say the kick drum will set off like, I don't know, an effect on your video or something like that. I don't know. I'm just sort of like, I haven't dove into it, but there's a lot you can do with it. Cool, that render's done. Let's have a look. Looks cool, man. Looks pretty good. I want to have a look at that other design as well, so just while I'm here. So I'll call this one I want to see it with the remember I spiralified the tunnel. I want to see how that looks. No, not sorry, I mirrored it, didn't I? Yeah. Add a modifier, mirror modifier. Yeah. That looks nice, man. Oh, I forgot. Always add that lens distortion for these for these kind of renders. Just to get that sort of blurry RGB separation, sort of vignette kind of thing that it does. I really like it with these kind of designs. So let's render that. What's the tuner there? How do you bring that to the top? Move up. It's not even working. Mika, don't know about lens distortion. I I do overuse it though. Not everything needs lens distortion. I've noticed that looking back at some of my designs. I think if it's like a dark sort of tunnel sort of animation, it's good. Because it can sort of like warp the framing of it. Well, obviously that's what it does, right? But it just doesn't look good on everything. I do overuse it a bit, I think. But yeah. I've lost my capo. Oh man. I don't know where it's gone. I do have a spare one, but it's not as good. I love how you can, I don't know if you can hear that, but you can hear the graphics card rendering through the it's like the ground noise. You can hear it. I don't know if you can hear it. I can hear it on my headphones. But let's have a look at that. Jeez. Looks nice, doesn't it? Nice, isn't it? Goes with the music. Right, let's I was playing around with the colours, so let's try some different colour palettes. And let's get rid of the Z on the mirror. I really like it, man. It's cool. I think I'll try a different colour palette. Like a sort of ice crystal. Yeah, that's a nice one. Let's go for man, I like that. So nice. Render that for sure. Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. almost done. Oh, that's really awesome to hear, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, I just want to apologise. I haven't been uploading. I've been very quiet on YouTube lately, so hoping to get back on that. Just the whole editing process takes a long time, and yeah, I know it's just excuses, but yeah, I really need to put more time into the YouTube. But yeah, that's what these live streams are for. So I'm using these live streams, yeah, to keep putting content on YouTube, and I can always cut these down into tutorials because obviously live streams are a bit long because I ramble a lot, and yeah, so I'll be cutting this one down and putting it onto a tutorial. So, but I appreciate that you've been watching, man. Honestly, it means a lot to me. Gonna do like one more color palette swap, I think, just to see what else we can get. I think I'll go with a sort of golden, sort of spiral, and I think the tunnel can be like, yeah, keep the tunnel blue, I think, and that light at the end. I think that's nice. No, I like it like that. That's cool. Right, let's render that one, see how that looks. You know it, man. Got to do something while we're rendering, am I right? Thank God I got the guitar. I really like this one, man. This is a nice one. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Forgot it. F? I think it's F. Yeah. Sorry, guys. A bit rusty. I just wanted to see this color palette with just a bit of a different, just a slight different design on the spiral. Yeah, like that. I think. That's cool. Yeah, that's going to be my last one, I think. You could drift off in the universe. Those are some kind words. Maybe if I wasn't like fucking up all the time. It's quite hard to drift off when you hear like... Luckily, I got the big, long, shimmering reverb to drown out any mistakes.
Pretty nice. Nice.
Oh, you're gonna. I'm Sorry, I need to check one more. I want to do one with the light radius completely out, especially with this pattern we got now. Yeah. All right. One more, I promise. Sorry. Just deleting those keyframes because I want the radius out. See, like that? I want it around here. Maybe not that much. That's cool. Alright, take it easy. Was it? Splittles. Ciao. Have a good one. Thanks for joining. Take care. Have a good one. Thanks for joining. Okay, I think that render's done now. Yeah, I like it, man. I really like it. Awesome. I'm really happy with the results. Right. I don't know how I'm going to edit all of this live stream because I was rambling a lot, but it'll be done. Alright, well, I think I'm going to wrap that up there. Thank you to everyone who joined. Like you guys know, tomorrow's Friday, so happy Friday to everyone. Yeah, I'll be releasing 3 loops tomorrow, kind of in a similar style to this. I kind of experimented a bit more on this live stream and came up with this result. And I've already rendered the other weekly VJ loops, but they're kind of similar. But if you want to grab those, the project files will be available for free tomorrow up until Sunday. So yeah, you can download them from nebmotion.co.uk, along with the 4K 60 frames per second renders. So yeah, make sure you grab those if you're interested, and if you want to have a play around with the project files, go nuts. They'll be available tomorrow. And yeah, thank you to everyone who joined, and peace out.